All right, shalom, shalom. I'd like to start off first and foremost by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles, the great millstone, rule and teach well. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to those that are doing this work in truth and in sincerity. This is your brother Nathaniel from the GMS Camp Atlanta, coming back at you through the Spirit with another lesson. And I pray and hope this lesson is edifying. All right, so the division is widening in the kingdom of Esau Edom. Okay, and the house of Esau is fallen. And I have this article here, which I'm gonna read a big portion of it, to show that that Esau don't trust Esau. All right, and as the scripture says, as a matter of fact, we'll start off with that. These same precepts have been coming out more and more and more. Okay, so we're gonna go to the book of Matthew. The book of Matthew, chapter 12, verse 25. And it says, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house that is divided against itself cannot stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall he then stand? It's like, how then shall his kingdom stand? Okay. And if by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore, they shall be your judges. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of Yahweh, then the kingdom of God is come unto you. And what we're seeing is the division and the kingdom of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai coming into play. All right. Because as his kingdom falls, our kingdom rises. And it may not seem that way right now because of all of the hell that we're going through in the world, but it definitely is. But going back up to 26, and it says, and if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And that's the point that I really wanted to hit, because we're seeing uh the kingdom of Esau Edom being divided on a grand scale. Now Europe is against America. All right. Now I have here this article, and it's by the European Business Magazine, and it says Europe's $24 trillion breakup with Visa and Mastercard has begun. It says the ECB president Christine Lagarde has called for Europe to break its dependence on American payment infrastructure, warning that every card transaction sends European consumer data to the U.S. A coalition of 16 banks thinks it has the answer. Quick answer: what happened? The ECB president Christine Lagarde told Irish radio that Europe needs its own digital payment system urgently, warning that it is virtually all European card and mobile payments currently run through non-European infrastructure controlled by U.S. Mastercard, PayPal, Alipay. Days later, on the 2nd of February, the European Payment Initiative (EPI) and the Europay Alliance signed a landmark agreement to build a pan-European interoperable payment network covering 130 million users across 13 countries. The system, built around the digital wallet, Rero, which is also the the beast system, the mark of the beast, okay, aims to let Europeans pay and transfer money across borders without touching a single American network. All right. So they're cutting ties. All these other nations are cutting ties with America. It says the problem no one thinks about. All right. And as a matter of fact, let's grab another precept. Looks like I didn't mean to go there. Let's grab another precept. Let's go to the book of Obadiah. It says, the vision of Obadiah, Thus saith the Lord power concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. All right. The other nations, including Esau, Edom's own counterpart in the other nations, hate America. Okay, they hate America. All right, America thinks um America thinks that they're better than everybody. All right, America thinks he's better than everybody. You know, the way they talk, the way they present themselves. America thinks that, hey, you know what? We are the cream of the crop, the glittering city, and um the allies are starting to realize that America has too much authority, too much power. So when you go back to this article, it says every time every time a European taps a card or pay bills online or splits a bill with friends, the transaction flows through infrastructure owned and operated by American companies. Visa and Mastercard together process approximately $24 trillion in transactions annually. And that's a lot. Okay. And then they collect monies off of all of that. It says card payments account for about 56% of all cashless transactions in the EU, and the data who bought what, where, when, and for how much leaves European jurisdiction every time. It is important for us to have digital payment under control. Lagrid told the Pat Kenny show. Whether you use a card or whether you use a phone, typically it goes through Visa, Mastercard, PayPal, or Alipay. Where are all of those coming from? Well, either the US or China. The host responds, I didn't realize this. Capture the border, European blind spot. Most consumers have no idea that their payment data routinely exits the EU in a geopolitical environment where Europe is scrambling to reduce dependency on the US across defense, energy, trade. Payment remains overlooked, vulnerable. The lesson of Russia sharpened the urgency where Western sanctions cut off from Visa and MasterCard. Remember that little SWIFT thing? In 2022, the country's domestic payments were immediately disrupted. European policymakers asked the obvious question: what would happen if the US decides or was persuaded to restrict European access to the same networks? All right. So America basically, when they did that shit to Russia, they cut off his nose to spite his face. Because now the other nations are looking at this, the partner nations are looking at this and saying, nah, we can't allow you to have that type of power. All right. So when you go back to this Obadiah, it says, the pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwells in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Okay? Because these damn Americans, and still to this very day, you're seeing all of these videos about how America's the most powerful country in the world. There ain't no nation can bring us down. We always gonna be on top, and that's the stout look of these Americans. All right, that it speaks of in Daniel 7:20. All right, as a matter of fact, I'm just gonna read it real quick. It says, "And of the 10 horns there was in his head, and of the other which came up before whom 3 fell, even of the horn that had eyes, uh, and the mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows." Okay, so that horn that was more stout than his fellows was America, and the 3 horns that fell before was Britain, Spain, and France, or the French. Okay, so Um, so America, these other European nations, America looks down on these other European nations. Okay, and that's why these European countries don't like Americans. All right. And now they're trying to distance themselves from America because after they've seen what happened with Russia and all the crazy things that Donald Trump is doing, they don't want to have America to have any type of control or power over anything that they do, furthering and widening the gaps and the division between the kingdom of Esau. All right. And see, the thing is they think that by separating themselves from America, for some reason, it's going to absolve them and get them out of all of the evil that's going to come upon them. And it's not. It's actually going to make it worse because you're divided. As I brought out, a house divided against itself cannot stand. All right. Verse 4 says, "Though thou exalt thyself as an eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence I will bring thee down, saith the Lord." All right. Now, I'm gonna skip down to verse 6, and it says, "How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and have prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is no understanding in him." You know, and all of these people who at one time was using the dollar, using your payment systems, and had everything to do with money are no longer dealing with you. And that word bread represents money, okay, or provisions. All right. So all of those provisions that were once provided by America, they're no longer, they don't want those things anymore. And they're separating themselves from America. Okay. And then we're seeing that right now. Now, this is a big deal. All right. This shows you that prophecy is coming to pass. And on top of that, as they implement this new digital system, this is also the beast system. So America is also facilitating the America is also facilitating the helping to perpetuate the beast system among the nations because as they try to get out of the dollar, they realize too that hold on one second. They realize too that um dependence on the dollar means dependence on America. All right, so they're getting rid of the dollar. And they want to be completely separate from this whore. All right. So as we move forward, America is becoming more and more isolated. This place is great. America is greatly despised, and they think to themselves they don't understand. They think why all these things are happening. Well, you know what? That's why when we continue on in verse 8, it says, shall not in that day, saith the Lord, even the Lord even like it. Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom and the understanding out of the mount of Esau? Because as you do this stupid shit to these other nations, thinking that you're just wielding around your authority and your sword, you don't understand the ramifications of your actions. You don't know that you're actually destroying the system that you set up. But ultimately, it's the Lord that's destroying the system. Okay. So these other nations are completely separating from America, which ultimately is going to lead to that World War III. All right, where all of the nations are fighting against one another. All right. So then we're going to go to Habakkuk, the second chapter, because this is another reason. It's the debt. All right. It's the thick clay. The other nations are saying, wait a minute. Like, let me see if I can find it. Go. There it is right here. In the means for your money before little children and girls and stuff come out. All right. And aftershock hits. I have been tracking this. So this is Elder Malcolm, and Elder Malcolm, he has a video that he brought out, and it was talking about how 23 nations, which is the first time it happened since 1995, as it says here at the bottom, exposed the Treasury auction failed for the first time since 1995. Um, So that's what 20 21 years? 31 years? Right, 31 years that they didn't have any issues with the bond market. Now all of a sudden, the other nations are they don't want to buy U.S. debt. Why? Because it's too massive. It's a massive, massive, massive debt.
Exact scenario for months on this channel. I told you the buyers were leaving. I told you China was dumping. I told you Japan was selling. I told you the reverse repo facility was drained. And now, every single one of those warnings just converged into one moment. The auction failed. The dominoes are falling, and we are standing right in the path. To understand why this is so terrifying, you have to understand what a treasury auction actually is. Think of it like this. Every week, the United States government has bills to pay. Social security checks, military contracts, interest on old debt. The problem is the government spends roughly $2 trillion more per year than it collects in taxes. So it has to borrow the difference. The way it borrows is by holding an auction. The Treasury puts bonds up for sale. Investors from all over the world show up and bid. They say, I will lend you $10 billion if you pay me this interest rate. The lowest bidders win. The money flows in. The government keeps the lights on. It has worked like clockwork for decades. But there is a hidden mechanic inside this system that most people never see. There is a group of banks called primary dealers. These are the big guys: JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America. They have a legal obligation to participate in every auction. They are the safety net. Even if nobody else shows up, the primary dealers are required to buy whatever is left over. They are the guaranteed buyer of last resort. Now here is what just happened. The auction was held. The bids came in. And the total demand was so low that the primary dealers were forced to absorb a record percentage of the offering. The technical term is a tail. When an auction tails, it means the government had to pay a significantly higher interest rate than expected just to move the paper. The tail on this auction was the worst since 1995. Some desks on Wall Street are calling it an outright failure. Think about what that means. The United States government could not sell its debt at the price it wanted. It had to beg, it had to discount, it had to bribe. And the only reason it did not completely collapse is because a handful of Wall Street banks were legally required to catch the falling knife. That is not strength, that is life support. If you are not subscribed to this channel, you need to fix that right now. I have been warning about this for months while the mainstream media was asleep.
So you see, the American dollar is cooked because nobody wants American debt, and now nobody wants American processing either. So we're gonna go to Habakkuk, the second chapter, verse 6, and it says, I'm gonna start at verse 5. It says, "Yea, also because let's go up to verse 4. It says, Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by just shall live by his faith. He also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. But gathereth unto himself all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increases that which is not his, how long, who laden himself with thick clay. And that thick clay means abadia, which is debt. Okay? And this is a debt-based system. So nobody wants to buy American debt anymore because America don't pay its bills. And America prints money out of nothing. And America robs the other nations. And America steals. And America this and America that. America is just, it just needs to be destroyed. And the other nations know that. So now nobody wants American debt, and the American processings like Visa and Mastercard are about to go bankrupt soon because nobody wants to use them in the other countries. And because America is falling apart from the inside out, people in this nation ain't gonna be able to have shit to use it. So eventually it's all going to come crumbling down. And it's gonna happen very soon. Okay? And then what they're gonna do? They're gonna try to implement this new beast system. And the moment that they do, and they start making it mandatory for people to get the microchips, that's when all hell is really going to break loose. It's already going to be hell breaking loose, but that's when the Lord is really going to turn the heat up. All right. So as you can see, this place is cooked. Cooked. It's done. All right. It is done. This place is totally divided, totally destroyed. And you know what? Let's do this. Let's close out on Isaiah in the 19th chapter. All right. Let's go to Isaiah 19, and it says. It says, and I will, this is Isaiah 19 and 2, and it says, and I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian, the modern day America, okay, slavery, Egypt, represents house of bondage, and the Egyptians are modern day slave masters, all right, taskmasters. And it says, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his city, everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards, because the spirit of this everything that once made America what it is being destroyed and dismantled. All right, and eventually the regular everyday populace is going to get to the point to say, you know what, it's not coming back. It's not coming back. All right, the good old days of America are gone forever, and they're going to really realize that America is going to be wiped out, and all of their spirit and all of their energy is going to fail them, and the people are just going to give up because they're going to realize that it's over. All right. So with that, I pray this is an edifying lesson. Just wanted to do a quick one on that, ending it off giving all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Rakakadash. Until the next time, like him, I say shalom.